Gathered here tonight, we rejoice in the Esbat of the waning moon. As the lunar energies wane until they have reached the new moon, we too align ourselves with this power. Let us tap into the boundless potential to cultivate an unwavering strength to banish any unwelcome energies from our lives. Lady of Wisdom, the crone goddess reigns over this time. We invoke this boundless creativity within ourselves as we embark upon our personal quests. So with that, at the beginning of our Esbat tonight, we actually worked together, and Reverend Afrin actually brought us to our astral temple. And the reason is because our active power for this Esbat is a banishing of unwanted energies that would work best in a shared space. So we are going to be using the astral temple to do our spell work this Esbat.
Before we get started, I am going to lead us through a meditation into the Four Pillars Temple astral space. So I invite you to find a nice, comfortable position and bring your attention and your awareness to your breath. And just give yourself a moment to simply arrive. Bring your attention to the breath as it goes in and as it comes out. And I invite you to imagine that you're standing upon a gravel walkway. And this walkway stretches out before you. And as it stretches out before you, you begin to walk along the path. And you can hear as the gravel crunches beneath your feet, and you can feel the scuffle of your feet upon the path. And as you continue, you begin to hear the sound of running water, rushing water, and it gets louder and louder as you continue down the path. And you see in the distance there is a bridge straight ahead of you that is crossing over a running stream. And you come upon the bridge and you walk onto the bridge. And you turn to your right and you can see from the bridge that there is, not in the far distance, but in the distance there is a rushing waterfall. And you can see it cascading down the rock face, and the water is coming down the stream. And you turn and cross the bridge, and you turn to the right, and the path goes along the water's edge. And you continue straight and follow along the water's edge until you get to the stream. And you come off of the path and you step into the water of the stream and into the waterfall. And you feel the water as it pours over your body. And as it pours over your body, you can feel it cleansing you, clearing and releasing you, and grounding you in this sacred space. And the water pours over you, and it clears and releases all excess energy. And when you feel that you are sufficiently ready, you can return to the path. And from here, the path turns to the right and goes into the forest. And as you walk into the forest, you can hear animals scurrying around. You can hear birds chirping in the forest. And you walk deeper and deeper into the forest. And on the left side of the path, there is a stone archway. And that archway, you can see, leads into a stone labyrinth. We are not taking that path today, and we simply continue on down the path. And we continue further down the path, and to the right, it opens up into a clearing. And we step off of the path and into the clearing. And you see in the distance, there is a circle of stones, a circle of 4 pillars that stand at each of the cardinal directions. And you walk toward that pillar of that circle of stones, and you begin to see in the center of the circle of stones there is an altar, a rough-hewn stone altar. And we enter the circle from the southeast, and we stand facing the altar, which faces the direction of the north. And from here, this is where we will begin our rite.
So with that being said, what we are going to do is I need everyone to close their eyes and focus themselves back into the space that we arrived at in the Astral Temple. This was a place made specifically for spell work and working together, even when we cannot be together in our lives. If you look around this space, you will notice that there are 2 black candles. Black candles are used for banishing. There's also a spool of twine, scissors, and a shovel. All around a hole in the ground in the center. I begin by lighting the 2 black candles. And I invite all attendees to look around the space around the outer edges for any aromatic flowers, plants, leaves, stems, anything that you are drawn to because they will be used to banish away something from your life. Now, the focus on using these aromatic herbs, flowers, stems, whatever it is you choose, is because their aroma travels on the air, much like anything that you are trying to banish from your own life. We are going to banish using these items. So take a moment, choose a plant or plants that you could use to create a poppet that represents something or multiple things that you would like to banish from your life. Please note while you are choosing, your poppet does not have to represent a person. You don't have to banish someone from your existence. It can simply be wrapped into a basic shape, holding the energies that you wish to banish from your life. If you so choose to make a poppet that resembles a human form or an animal, that is entirely up to you and depends completely on what you are trying to banish. So once you have chosen your plant or plants, hold it up in front of you. I am now giving each one of you a piece of the twine, cutting it with the scissors. You will use that twine to bind together your plants into the shape that you wish to represent the item, idea, energy, whatever it is that you are banishing from your life. Once you are done, I invite you to step closer to the hole in the center of the space. Hold your poppet out in front of you. Concentrate fully on pushing the negative energy that you want to rid yourself from into that poppet. Think of whatever it is that you would like to remove from your life at this time. Put that energy into the poppet in your hands. Once you have done that, we are going to banish this energy from your life. So holding your poppet in front of you, think to yourself or say out loud, behold, I have put into this poppet the negative energies of that which I wish to banish from my life. And you will now toss your poppet into the hole. The energy I no longer desire to be in my life is now given back to the earth to be used elsewhere. So mote it be.
So mote it be.
Now, one at a time, you will take the shovel and you will scoop the dirt back into the hole. Once everyone has scooped dirt back into the hole and all of the negative energies are buried, our banishment spell work is then complete. From that, I do ask that Reverend Afrin guide us back from the astral temple for the remainder of our rite tonight.
So at this time, I invite you to imagine again that you are standing in front of the altar, the stone-hewn altar in the standing stones of Fort Pillars Temple. And you turn your back upon the altar and begin to walk south out of the circle. And you cross through the clearing back toward the street, the paved gravel trail that we entered upon. And we take this to the left and continue down the trail. And we see on the right a stone archway leading into the labyrinth. We continue on past that, back toward the edge of the forest. And we pass out of the forest and we see before us the waterfall as it's rushing. And we turn to the right and we go along the water's edge until we come to the bridge. And we cross the bridge to our left and we begin back down the trail that we came. And we continue onward to the direction where we entered the sacred space. And as we continue to walk down this trail, we begin to see ourselves again in this space, in this room, at this moment, at this time. And I invite you to bring your attention back to the breath, your physical breath as it comes in through your nose and as it goes out through your mouth. And feel yourself in your chair at this moment, in this space, before your computer. And bring your attention and your awareness back to this body in this moment of time. I invite you to take one deep cleansing breath in through the nose and out. And open your eyes. You're muted.
See, I tried to do a nice thing and mute myself. So not to happen. So with that, thank you very much, Reverend Afrin, for getting us back from the astral temple. There's a couple things I wanted to talk about tonight, one of which being the waning moon, because that is our current moon cycle. So the waning moon is when the moon decreases from full back to a crescent and then finally disappears. This is the phase of the crone goddess. During the waning moon, we work on those things we wish to release, to cleanse, and let go of. It is a time for endings. The waning moon is a time for internal growth and integration, just as the waxing moon is a time for eternal growth and development, external growth and development, excuse me. In the monthly cycle of the moon, the dark half is the waning moon, from full moon to new moon. The light half is the waxing new moon to full moon. During the waning moon, we do our releasing and inner work. We use this time to rid ourselves of all the limits or things that are holding us back. During the waxing moon, we do manifestation to bring about our goals and desires in the outer world, and we banish that which we do not want to continue into our lives. I did want to talk to everyone about the element of air. So we've talked about a couple different ones through our last couple Esbats. And this time we were focusing more on air as the element of the East. And it is connected to the soul and the breath of life. And if you're doing a working related to communication, wisdom, or the powers of the mind, air is the element to focus on. Air carries away your troubles, blows away strife, and carries positive thoughts to those who are far away. Air is associated with the colors yellow and connects to the tarot suit of swords. Now, forgive me if I do not do the greatest job in pronouncing some of the names, but I did want to talk about a few different gods from different pantheons that are related to air in general. One of which is Aeolus, the god and lord of the winds. He's actually a descendant of Poseidon and grandson of his namesake. Aeolus comes from the Greek Aeolos, which means fast. He was officially the son of Metaponto, king of Icaria, and Tiano. His twin, Boeotus, settled in the land currently known as Boeotia, which became his kingdom, while Aeolus wandered to the Magna Graecia, finally settling on Lipari, an island in a small archipelago northeast of Sicily, together with his unbelievable amount of 12 children, 6 males and 6 females, who in most Greek mythology ended up married to each other. There he became the tamer of winds and advisor to the gods, giving his name to the entire archipelago, the Aeolian Islands. When Zeus decided to enclose the winds, since he considered them dangerous if left in the wild, his wife Hera suggested that he hide them in a cave in the Tyrrhenian Sea and entrust their custody to Aeolus. The winds, after causing great damage, including the detachment of Sicily from the continent, and guilty of the various storms and storms on the sea, had to be constantly kept under control by the gods. So Aeolus directed them, freed them, or closed them inside caves and inside his skin in Lipari, one of the Aeolian Islands, where he had erected his splendid palace. So another one that I wanted to talk about was Ilmater. And she is a goddess of wind, air, and sky, as well as storms, hunting, and cold. Her mortal incarnation is one of the main protagonists of the epic poem known as Kalevala. In the work, Ilmater is presented as a fierce and indomitable warrior, daughter of Herkel and sent by the goddess of creation to defend the 3 bloodlines in their struggle against their enemies. In many cases, it is considered to be a direct extension of the cult of Herkel and therefore attributable to the dictates of the Church of Light. There is also thought to be several communities, both among elves and humans, where the veneration for the goddess of the wind is accompanied by a total lack of interest in other deities. So another god that is associated with air is Noror. I think that's how you say it. Forgive me if I am wrong. Is a god from Norse mythology, which is why it's so hard to pronounce. He actually belonged to the Vanir lineage. He was received as a hostage in that of the Aesir to sign peace between the two factions after the conclusion of the conflict that divided them. It is said that he will return to the Vanir after Ragnarok. He is god of the sea, of the wind, of disturbances, of fertility, and of wealth. He's the giver of fortunes and misfortunes to sailors and fishermen. He is the father of Freya and Freya, who he had by joining with, of course, his sister. Another much better known god from the Egyptian pantheon is Amun. He is usually shown as a striding man wearing a tall plumed crown, and he was originally depicted with red-brown skin. But after the Amrana period, he was painted with blue skin, symbolizing his association with air and primeval creation. Amun was also depicted in a wide variety of other forms. If you didn't know, many gods and goddesses in the Egyptian pantheon changed forms, colors, and sometimes even the elements that they ruled over from one era to the next. Amun was a dark deity of the Theban region in the Old Kingdom. His name derives from the root imn, which has the meaning of conceal and hide, and was therefore considered the hidden god. And as with many gods and goddesses of the Egyptian pantheon, he was depicted anthropomorphic. So they did a lot of mixing humans with animal faces or bodies, and it could just be simply an animal that has human features. And the ram was the animal that, together with the goose, was associated with him. It seems that he was once also worshipped in Koptos, the ancient Keti, where the local deity Min has many points in common with Amun. Originally, Amun was one of the 8 primordial deities worshipped at Hermopolis Magna, Greco-Roman version for ancient Unt, where he symbolized air and invisible space. So those are just 4 out of hundreds and hundreds of different deities that represent air. The air element is a super important element, and so are the deities that are associated with it. If you want to boost your spiritual energy and create a deeper connection with this element, you can connect with one of these deities and do it in a more mindful and beautiful way. Just a couple more things about air itself. If you are not aware, there are symbols that represent the elements when we are talking about many different forms of paganism, not just Wicca. And air is usually represented by a triangle facing upwards with a line either through the top portion of the triangle or just across the top portion of the triangle. Air is also associated with the east. The moon didn't entirely line up, but it is associated with the waxing moon, spring, and sunrise. So any type of magical workings that involve the sunrise or springtime are great to be done with some type of air infused tool or idea. With all of that being said, I want to end my little talk here by saying that air really is the breath of life. Without air, there would be no one. There would be nothing. So it is very important to respect this element, to never use it to put out a fire, which is another element. We should never use one against another. And to always be aware that the wind will carry away troubles and it will bring in new beginnings. All right, so with that being said, I would like to move on to the chalice blessing.